Hey there, Schwermetallisch here. Last week I did an interview with Lee Aaron, the metal goddess. She was very sweet and we had a lot of fun talking to each other. And yeah, just tune in, enjoy it, and most important of all, stay safe. Hey there, folks. Schwermetallisch here. I'm sitting here with Lee Aaron. Hi, Lee.
Hi, how you doing?
So, your career is quite a long one, I would say.
Yeah, sometimes I'm amazed myself.
Yeah, I looked a bit into it. I was born in 1980,
Yep.
and when I was 2 years old, you released your debut album. So that's quite some time to be in the rock and roll circus.
I started really young. I joined a band when I was 15 years old. I finished school though, and yeah, we were basically on the road and doing stuff when I was around 18. So I started quite young. So my debut album came out. I recorded it when I was 18. It was either released when I was 18 or 19, or just before I turned 19. So sometimes people meet me and they actually expect me to be older than I am, because I started so young. But yeah, if you'd asked me 30 years ago if you thought I'd still be doing this today, I don't know what I would have said. But I'm just really grateful, that I have an amazing band and I'm still inspired to write songs, that I'm still a fan of music, which is, I think, huge, right? And also that I have my health and I can continue to do this. I love it. I mean, I'm still 21 up here.
Yeah, that's always the best way to do business. Staying young and doing what you actually like or love makes it a bit more easy
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
carry on over the years. So yeah, I read that you played with heart.
I did. Yeah.
So the Encyclopedia Metallum, the Metal Archives, just mentioned that you stayed with them live.
I'm sorry.
What did I on there? Vocals, yeah. 2007, it was live. So you were playing with them on tour, I guess.
No, I did a big festival with them here in Canada. Um, and it was actually 2000. I thought it was 2006. Um, my son was only like 6 months old, and I really wasn't uh, doing any live performances at that time because I was a new mom. I had a daughter who was a year and a half and a son who was 6 months old, and so we had them really, really close together. So I was kind of overwhelmed by new motherhood. So I told my agent I'm not doing any shows. But when he called and he said, you have an opportunity to perform with Heart on this festival, I was like, oh my gosh, like they were my idols because I grew up when I was a young teen, like 13, 14 years old. I was obsessed with the Dreamboat Annie album and Little Queen, and like that, like I've said before, if there was no, there would be no Metal Queen if I never heard Barracuda, right? And so when I had the opportunity to perform with them, I was like, yes, I'm going. I don't care what it takes, and it was just an amazing experience for me. Anne was nice, but Nancy was particularly a nice person. And we spent a lot of time backstage talking. And mostly we talked about our kids and about how to balance motherhood and being like a female rocker. Like, how do you do that, right? And because we wanted to, I've always been the kind of person that thought, I could have both, that I could do this, I could do it all, right? And so she gave me some good pointers. She said, you have to become a weekend warrior. All week long, you're the soccer mom. You're driving your kids to school in the minivan and taking them to, plays and soccer games. And then on the weekend, you get on a plane and you go out and do some rock shows, come home. And so I made it work that way for a long, long time with my career. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a bit harder than yeah, the usual stories you get from magazines and from videos and Hollywood is that yeah, the guys still rock
Yeah.
and the moms stay home, and that's yeah, that's
Yep.
always quite unfair, I would say, because everyone loves to rock.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's not just being a rocker and the mom. It's just working maybe full time and being there for your kids. It's just a balance act that is quite yeah, exhausting and complicated to organize. And
It's definitely more complicated because it's one thing to be a mom that works full time, but still picks their kids up from school and makes dinner and all that stuff. But it's another thing to be a mom that needs to travel, right? And I think that was the hardest part for me. It's a lot easier now because my kids are young teens and they're pretty independent. But when they were really little, I every time I got on a plane and I went away somewhere, I felt guilty about it, right? The mom guilt, right? You get so yeah, definitely more complicated. But yeah, and I spent some time, for about 10 years, I didn't write an album because all my creative energies was going into raising my kids. But now that they're older, when they got to be about, I don't know, 8 and 9 years old, and they could, put on their own pajamas and brush their own teeth and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I got to write. So from 2016 until present, now 2021, I've written and put out 5 albums. So Radio On, of course, is the fifth one, which is coming out this summer in July. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I was going to ask what happened between 2004 and 2016, because it's the only period of time in your career where you didn't put out an album in a 2 year rhythm.
It's called motherhood.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had 2 babies with my husband, and again, like I said, it was just really hard. All my creative energy went into being a parent, right? And I mean, the thing about I always thought, of course, music is my life. It's my life. It's my whole life, and that is what I'm going to do. And I'm still going to continue to make music. But then you have kids, and you realize, man, this is another job in my life that's extremely important. And if I screw it up, my kids are going to be in therapy when they're 30. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you're trying to like balance that. I have to let my dogs out. They are banging at the door. One sec, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
guys. Sorry, I don't want any happy accidents in my house.
No problem. Um,
There you go.
can you draw some inspiration and creativity all out of being a mother? Is it something you say, okay, that is stuff I can write and rock about?
Um, I think yes, and I think I'll give you 2 reasons why. I wrote a song in 2016 for my daughter. It's called Tomboy. Um, and it was, how do I explain it? When there's a stage that young girls are at, right? Before they become teenage young women, right? Where they're very, very, they're not aware of their sexuality yet, and they're not aware of being conscious about how they look and what people think of them. And it's just a wonderful period. Like when my daughter was about 10 or 11 years old, she was like that. And I thought, she was just a badass little kid, And I thought, I can relate to that. I feel like that in my life because I'm past the point of caring what anyone thinks anymore. You know what I mean? When you become a mature older lady, right? A mature woman after you've had your kids and stuff, you're like, who cares I don't care what people think about anymore. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm going to do what I do. So there was sort of this real connection that I felt with my daughter at that stage in her life. And the song Tomboy was kind of the inspiration for that, because it's like, she's a tomboy. I'm still a tomboy. There's a connection here on many levels we're making. So that song was definitely inspired by becoming a parent. But the other thing I can tell you is that, and I'm sure any rock star who's had a family would agree and say the same thing. When you have kids, your whole priorities shift in your life, right?
Yeah.
The things that were important to you before were small problems now. They're not big problems anymore. Your priorities shift because you start really focusing on politics and on the future of of Mother Nature, the future of the world for your children, right? Like, what is going to happen when you're no longer here to take care of them? And those perspectives have me thinking about different things in my life now. I've written a couple of when America was in such, and I don't really want to take a political stance here because it's never been my agenda as an artist to polarize my fans politically. But, pre-Biden administration, America was just a mess. I mean, there was so much polarization between individuals down there, and they were fighting over everything. There was so many riots and unrest, and it was very disturbing as a Canadian to see this. And as someone who loves America as a country, and America stands for so many wonderful things that I love, like the birth of rock and roll, Motown, so many symbols of freedom throughout the world. This was very disturbing to me. So that inspired the song American High, which is on Diamond Baby Blues, right? And actually inspired another song called Soul Breaker, which is on Radio On, which is coming out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would be thinking that way as much if it wasn't for being a parent, right? So there you go.
I fully understand that. I fully understand that you don't want to polarize your fans, of course, and just let me put it that way. I'm on your side when it comes to the last president. Again,
I'm not taking any individual side, but it was really sad to see what was going on with. There was a lot of divisiveness happening, in the country, and it was causing both sides to fight, and that was really disturbing to me, right? So there you go.
Yeah, it was very dividing. That's even in Germany, you can't escape those news and those how your view on something changes. How the view on America had changed internationally in that period of time. And in the last 100 days, it really shifted again. And so maybe we will all survive. Let's see. So you got an upcoming album.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Tell me more about it.
We started writing for this album before COVID happened. So a few months before COVID happened, we'd all gotten together as a band because we live on the opposite ends of the country. My guitar player, Sean Kelly's in Toronto. Dave Reimer, my bass player, John Cody, and myself. John Cody's my husband, of course. And we all live on the West Coast, but we don't live right in the same area. So getting us all together in a room is a little bit challenging. But we flew Sean in, and I said, look, bring your best 4 or 5 song ideas. We're going to get together in a room, and we're just going to lock ourselves in there and see what happens for a weekend. Because with this band that I have presently, everybody's a great songwriter. Everybody's got a great arranger. Everyone has a good contribution, a real solid contribution to the musical aspect of this band. And when we get in a room together, something really magical happens. So that is when I wanted to create. And I said, I want to go back and, revisit all my, my favorite albums from, that inspired me as a teenager. All the Who albums from the 70s, all the Zeppelin albums, all the, even the sophomore Guns N' Roses record. It had like a furious, raw energy to it. That personally I'm not hearing it so much in music these days. Like I hear a lot of music where everything is quantized exactly to the beat.
Yeah.
All the vocals are completely pitch corrected, and that's not really the kind of music, that's not my style. That's not the music I want to make. I want to make music that where I have eye contact with my band members, that we're performing live off the floor, that we're getting good, solid, raw takes to build on, right? So we locked ourselves in a room for a weekend, and I really wasn't expecting to write a whole album, but we did. You know, we walked away from those sessions having almost all the songs completed. I had to finish up a few lyrics, but all the choruses were solid. And then we got together a few months later to record our bed tracks. But unfortunately, the week that we got together to record the bed tracks in the middle of March to 2020 was when everything in the world was escalating because of COVID. Things were changing hourly, and it was pretty scary. So we had to cut the bed track sessions. We got our bed tracks, but we had to cut the rest of the sessions a bit short and record the rest of the tracks at home because of COVID. But in the end, it's still, I'm so happy we had those initial takes that were really raw and unfiltered, and I think really captured the energy of my band. So I'm just excited about the final product. I think it's just a real cool record. We wanted to write the kind of record that we would have written when we were teenagers, and just an album that we thought we could play for our friends. That was really cool, you know?
I think if you want to write an album, you would have written as a teenager. From my perspective, I would have to be, yeah, very drunk maybe.
Well, I'm not going to say none of that happened.
It's in the dark. Who writes the lyrics? Is that all of you, all yours, or do you share lyric writing duty?
I would say it's mostly me. It's mostly me that comes up with lyric content, Kent. But I bounce a lot of things off the guys in my band, and sometimes they'll have suggestions for a better line or a better word or a better phrase, and so yeah, the whole process is quite collaborative. You know, even with this album, like some of the song ideas, I brought the, you know, almost all the music and most of the words. But then on another song idea, you know, Dave might have brought in a completed bass line, and you know, the top line for the chorus, and then we added to that. So some songs I might have written more, and the guys wrote less. Some of they might have written a little more of the music, and I wrote a little bit less. But we split the songwriting in equal 4 ways because, again, in the end, it becomes very collaborative. My husband is a really strong arranger, and he brings a lot of, we call him the cut the fat guy, you know, like if a song is, you know, 6 minutes long and we have parts that are going on too long, or a part that's not needed, he's really good at coming in and going, you know, we should just throw out those extra 16 bars, we don't need them. And he's a really good arranger. So it's a very collaborative process.
Yeah, that's always, I think if I would be in a band, I would prefer this. Because it's always a bit, you know, not always, but often, most of the times it's difficult to have one dictator in a band who says, okay, the guitar has to sound like this, bass like this, drums like this, and I write the lyrics and that's the way you describe it. It seems way more organic, I think.
It is pretty organic, but I'll tell you the reason it works is because it's taken me years to find the band members that I love. And I love, like, not only are they great musicians, but they're really nice guys. They're super people. And I mean, I've worked with a lot of jerks, right, in the past in my life, and that's why they're not in my band anymore, right? But it's taken me quite a few years to come up with piece together my forever band, if that makes sense, you know, a band of guys that I love their talent and I love their personalities. And that's the reason that it works. And I think too, when you make an arrangement to split the songwriting 4 ways equally, no matter who brings in what, like almost without a doubt, I'm the person that always brings the piano ballad to the table, right? Like, I'm like, okay, guys, I got another ballad, you know, I play it and I've already written the words and the melody, but then they add their parts on top. So the majority of the song is mine, but I still split it 4 ways, because then there's what happens is you don't have any egos competing, and you eliminate any fighting in your band over songwriting pieces, over that kind of stuff. And it's democracy. I don't want it to ever have to be in that situation. I mean, I've worked with songwriters in the past, like staff songwriters that were working for Warner Chappell or whomever in the past, where, you're, after the song is written, you're in a room and you're figuring out who wrote what line, and they're like bugging for another 5% of the song. And it's stupid, right? I just don't want to ever do that again in my life. So, yeah.
When it comes to ballads,
Yeah.
and you not only write ballads and sing ballads, I think you like ballads and you like to listen to ballads. Who do you think is more on the romantic side of writing ballads? Women or men?
I think that I think it's even. I really do. I can write some badass little rock songs too, right? So it all depends on who you talk to. I mean, that I sang jazz in the past as well, right? And I know that when I was exploring a lot of the old, classic songwriters and the old Tin Pan Alley writers, and I was singing that style of music, I was shocked at how many of the songwriters who wrote all these beautiful tender ballads were all men, that could, unrequited love, So, I think it's equal. And it's funny, we a couple of years ago we played, I think it was 2018, we played a couple of festivals. We played Wacken and Swiss Festival, and we played with Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And we ended up hanging out with these guys. And Eric, the singer, when we were hanging out, he had a few drinks, and he's a lovely man. I have to say that, lovely. But all he could talk about was the heartache that he felt over his ex-marriage. And I thought, there's the ballad writer in that band. That's where those beautiful ballads could come from, my friend.
I love Mr. Big.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Nothing But Love is one of the greatest ballads I ever heard. I know the heartache. So I think
heartache is universal, right?
I think men and women cope differently. And not always, but I think it's the dudes sitting at the bar getting really shit-faced drunk and talking about their heartache all night long. I think women just cope differently. They have the best friends and maybe other coping mechanisms, and we always get drunk.
Well, women do too, but I think that women have more of a capacity to, and I don't know, really. I mean, but I know that for myself, I can close a chapter. I go, that's over. I'm closing this door, moving on to the next chapter of my life, right? And what is that going to bring? I've gotten, certainly a lot better at that as I've gotten older, right? Moving on, because what's the point? What's the point in hanging on to something if it's not returned, right? Yeah.
That's a lesson that is to be learned.
Absolutely.
I have a question when it comes to motherhood.
Sure.
I was in I think I have to Google this word. It's
okay.
Vorlesung. Yeah, okay. I knew the word. I was attending a lecture of a professor, and he talked about hormones and, of course, kids and puberty, and he closed his lecture with a sentence: I'm carrying for years now. If you get the feeling that your kids are getting dumber than before when they're hitting puberty, you are right. It's because the hormones distract the brain so much that a bright kid that is hitting puberty really is a bit dumped down by its own body, and I really sat there and I had to laugh really hard. Do you have two girls or girl and boy?
I have a 16-year-old daughter and I have a 15-year-old son. So I had them very close together. When I realized, after having my daughter, our daughter, and I realized that, because I had this crazy idea, I was just going to take my child, my baby, on the road. I'll just put her in a car seat and put her on an airplane and it'll all be good. And then, you know, she had colic and she screamed nonstop for 4 months and I was a nervous wreck. And I realized, oh, my life is completely changing, right? So we just thought if my life is completely changed, I might as well have another baby right away, right? So, but yeah, you know, our daughter is 16. Now I'm very lucky. I think she's very responsible, and I mean, she got into the liberal arts co-op at her school. She's very smart. So it's a certain select group of kids that get into that program. And she's taking English and philosophy. She's very smart and very responsible, but she just recently has a boyfriend.
Oh,
anyway.
willing.
And yeah, like I'm doing things like last night at, you know, 12:30 at night, I'm like, you need to go to bed because you have to get up. She's talking to her boyfriend on the phone for hours and hours, right? And I understand that's what happens at that age, and that's fine. I always say to her, I have a lot more experience being a 16-year-old than I do raising one.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You know.
So in a rock and roll family, your husband and you both are rockers. So who of you is threatening the boyfriend?
Well, I got to tell you, I think, you know, I think he's a little scared of my daughter.
Oh,
she's pretty like, you know, you need to get in line and do what I say. So I think they're a good match. You know, her boyfriend is a very, you know, creative guy. He's artistic and stuff, but she's very much like, if you say you're going to meet me on time, you better meet me on time. You better call me on time. She's that type of person. So I'm actually not that worried about her. I think can take care of herself. She's a lot like me.
that is good. And I think if he's scared of her and it stays, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So your new record, what is your favorite song?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I really can't pick a favorite. I can tell you 2 or 3 of my favorites, but not one favorite. I mean, I love the song Vampin'. It's the lead off track on the album. And, you know, when we wrote it, we went into kind of this like jamming kind of Zeppelin-esque section in the middle. And we left it in the song. We went, that's cool. You know, it doesn't follow modern pop song rules, but it certainly sounds like something that, you know, the Who or Zeppelin might have done in the 70s. So let's leave it in. I love the song Wasted. You know, it's a song, again, you talked about writing about more mature subject matter. It's a song about family addiction and making someone face up to that. And it starts out as a very, very pretty acoustic, you know, someone telling the story of what's happened in their family. And then it goes into this big, big, huge, heavy part where this person is sort of almost like yelling at the person about this is what this is cost me in my life, right? And so I know that I had a friend, she listened to that song and she said, wow, I almost started to cry when I heard it. And it's like, that's the emotion I want people to feel when they hear it. I love the song 21. You know, it's the ballad on the record. But it's all about, it's reminiscing about, all the things that you did when you were young, and remembering that no matter how old you get, in our hearts, we always still feel that way, right? You know, everything
Yeah.
around us changes, our bodies change, life changes, but in our heads, we're still young, right? Still young in spirit.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I understand that grown-ups and adult people are just yeah, oh, kids in older bodies. We,
Totally. I
yeah,
can totally relate. It's
we are
like,
raised to respect older people and um, think very yeah, good about them, and think they got everything under control. And the older you get, you realize it's all an illusion. Nobody ever knows what the fuck he's doing.
I totally, oh my gosh. Well, it's funny
Yeah.
because I got a whole bunch of emails before I talked to you today, and it's like my record label, Mentalville, I mean, they're doing a wonderful job. They've got a bunch of different promotional partners in different countries, but they're all emailing me, asking me for different times and different days. And I was just like, holy crap. Like, and then they're asking me for social media content and they want a new video. And I'm like, okay, I'm like a one woman operation here. And I feel like I'm losing control of my life here. I'm trying to keep it all organized, but yeah, same thing. I feel like a little kid that has no clue what's going on, and I'm just trying to hold it together every day.
I think the really adult moments, in per definition, in our lives are just moments where we manage to, yeah, hold things, uh,
Yeah.
or yeah, hinder things from breaking apart. It's
Yep.
only moments. Yeah, it's becoming obvious. So I got a question. I always ask, always.
Sure.
With you, it's a little bit different because you're making music since you were 12. That was
Uh, well, yeah, I mean, I wrote really bad songs when I was 12, but officially making music and writing songs since I was about 15. Yeah. Yeah.
so. What is left? What dreams are left for you? What bands you want to play with? Tours you want to go on?
Oh man. um, you know, I'm not the type of person that thinks too far into the future. Um, and I'll tell you why. Just, I've lost my mother 3 years ago. I've lost a couple of best friends in the last decade of my life too. And every day I just feel grateful. I feel grateful I have my voice. I feel grateful I have my health. I feel grateful that, my husband still has his health and that we're able to, I just want to keep making new music um, and moving forward as long as I possibly can, and getting on a stage and performing as long as I possibly can, because I'm a fan. Like, I'm a fan of music. I love rock. I love hard rock. But I love jazz and I love pop and I love any music that's good. To me, it's just personal taste. It's good music and bad music. And I'm doing this interesting project coming up with the Canadian brass. It's like a thing that's ongoing year after year. The Canadian brass, it's like the top brass players in Canada. They do recordings, and they're recording a whole bunch of cover songs, and I'm going to sing a song by The Weekend with Blinded by the Light with the Canadian brass, I'm like, that's really cool, right? I just again, like, I'm a fan of music, and I'm constantly being inspired by stuff, and it's constantly giving me inspiration to keep moving forward and write music. A lot of people artists that have been around as long as I have, it's like they don't keep writing new songs. They kind of either re-record their old material, or they just keep touring on their old hits over and over and over again, or they keep, or they just start recording covers, or, and not everyone does that, but a lot of, artists, my colleagues, have been doing that. And that's not really what I want to do. I want to keep making new music because after taking a break for motherhood, I feel more inspired than ever to keep writing. And so really those are my aspirations. And, and to meet my heroes. Every year I've been able to meet people that I admired when I was on tour. Last year or a couple of years ago, we were, we've just done these amazing shows and got to perform with, again, all my heroes. And that's all I really want to do. Keep moving forward, make new music.
That sounds pretty optimistic. That's a good one. My last question for today is when all this pandemic stuff and hiding and not making parties and not going on tours is over, what is the very first thing you're gonna do?
I'm going to fly to Ontario, which is in lockdown. Like, we're on the verge of a lockdown. I'm in Vancouver, Ontario. My family is there. My father, my sister. I only have one sister, and my father is 85 years old, turning 85 in May. And my biggest concern during COVID is that I might lose my last, parent during COVID and not be able to say goodbye and see him. So that's really the first thing that I'm going to do. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fly my band into Vancouver, and we're going to write songs, and we're going to record another album. Because we have a bunch of songs written already. So
that's a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan.
Yeah, I think the first thing I will do if as soon as I'm vaccinated and as soon as it's safe to, I don't know, go about without a mask in my face. I just wanna sit down in a pub and drink a large beer.
Well, that kind of goes with flying my band in to make a record. There'll be definitely some of that happening.
just doing something I did 1,000 times before, but I think doing these things again after being scared for so long now, it will be like a first time maybe.
Oh, I absolutely. Just to be able to hug your friends, to put your arms around your friends and get a hug, It's my friends now. Whenever I see a couple of friends, but we usually go for socially distanced hikes in a big park, right? And then we say goodbye and we're like, virtual hug, this is what we do, right? And I so miss just touching friends and being able to be warm and friendly with them, right? It's so hard.
Yeah. Maybe I would just start to hug strangers. I'm a big hugger.
That's good.
I really miss that. My brother, when I see my brother, he's always like, let's hug, because he's a nurse. He's a male nurse, and I don't think there's an English word for Krankenpfleger, for the male form of nurse. And he's fully vaccinated, so he's like, come, let's hug. And I'm still a bit scared, and it's like, let's hug.
Especially if he's around infected people every day. In Canada, let's call it a male nurse. So
so cool. if all this is over, I just want to hug people and maybe go to a restaurant.
I know. I miss that. Doing a lot of takeout though. Indian food.
So this industry is booming like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. Absolutely. For sure.
So I have to thank you for taking your time, having time for me in what time is it where you are?
It's 11:11 a.m. in the morning. So
11:11. Yeah,
yeah.
we get it's 8 p.m. here.
Ah,
Yeah, 8.
I know. Trying to do the time difference here.
Yeah,
But
it's always okay. What was it like? Okay, one moment, I have to calculate that. I always feel a little bit dumb if someone from America asks me uh, if I want to do an interview, and it's like, yeah, what the time? Wait, I have to calculate it because I'm doing retraining for a new job, um, always till 3 a.m. or 3:30, and I always have to plan things after that, and sometimes it's just not doable.
I can relate.
Uh, yeah, so that was a nice one. I wish you, yeah, a sunny day, and of course, take care and stay safe.
Yeah, so great to talk to you, Dennis. Thank you for having me on your show. It was awesome.
You're very welcome.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.